Hi, I thought today I would talk about creating invoices within SharePoint using Monday.com. So our invoice use case has the following. We have three boards over here. We've got contacts, and you can see over here we've got the names of some contacts, and these are connected to clients. So here we've got Norman Osborne and Mason Banks, and they work for Oscorp. And if we have a look over here in the clients board, we have a list of clients. We've just got Oscorp here. Over in the invoices board, we can see, if we scroll, that we have connected our invoices to our clients, which is this company board, and this has the billing address from the client company. And we also have the contacts and the shipping address. So the contact is Mason Banks here, and the shipping address is his shipping address. So we've got three boards connected together. And what we're going to do here is we also have these sub-items, and each of these sub-items is an item within the invoice. And we can see that we've got an SKU, the number of units, the unit price, and we can see here that if I edit the unit price, that the net total, the tax, and the gross total for this line item, these are all updated because these are worked out as follows. We have net total. If we have a look at the formula, you can see it's multiply the units by the unit price, round to 2, and format in text, like so. And then the gross total is the net total, adding 20% and formatted. And then the tax here is simply the gross minus the net. So you get these things here. So what we want to do is build a custom invoice out of all this data, and we can build that within Word, and then we can export that, and that will be saved within SharePoint. So how does that work? Well, first of all, we're going to want to create a Word template within SharePoint. So here's our SharePoint. I just happen to have this one here, and if we go to open in browser, that's going to open it here. And you can see that we've got a load of placeholder text here. So where did that come from? Well, we have this board view here, which handily displays all the things that we want. So you can see account name, you can see things like who the user is, and board information, board ID, item ID, and so on and so forth. And we can see that these items here are sub-items, so we basically have a repeatable row within this table. And we're just going to update. I want to add the job number out of a column. So if I look here, I can see the job number, and I can just paste that in there. So now we've got the job number and the terms. I actually think that I want to, instead of having terms, I want to do the due date in American format. So I'm going to go the due date in MDY format. So we're going to put in due date here, and then replace this 30 days. Okay, so now we can see that we have this invoice and it's named this. I'm just going to copy this, and this comes from our SharePoint site called Monday Production, and we'll get to that. So, how do we build this out for Monday? Well, one of the things that we have on this table already is an automation that says when an item's created, create a new folder in a particular place and configure that item. So, for example, if I was just to create a new item here, what we get is we get a folder created in SharePoint, and because we're using the Secure Embed app here, we automatically get this configured within here. So you can then easily upload things and save them to SharePoint, and this is using the Microsoft 365 integration. So that's the starting point. But now we've got all our details in here, and we want to create the invoice. So how do we do that? Well, I've actually got a status to call create invoice here. So we're going to create the invoice on an automation. So if we look over here, I've already got one. I've disabled that, and I'm going to create a fresh one over here. And we're going to look for 365, and we see this here. Then we scroll down, and we can see this automation sentence. When status changes to something, we read a document template and save the document in the configured folder. We're going to take the status column and create document, and then I'm going to look for a SharePoint site. And we're going to look for one that starts with Monday, and a document library, and then we're going to read a document template, and I copied the name of it, and we've found that there. And we're going to save it as invoice output and create this automation. So now all we need to do is trigger the automation by saying create invoice, and we can do this either on a status change or a button press. So now the automation's running. And when the automation is completed, we'll be able to click on here, and now we can see, look, just modified, that the invoice output is in here. And we can view that and see all the information. We've now got the job number, the due date in American format, and all the items and everything added up. So we have our invoice within SharePoint in Word format. We can also get this so that it will export over here, but then send a PDF rendition of this to a user's email. Thank you very much for watching.